Hello, thanks for joining. I'm Reagan Sonnabend. I'm a small business owner, real estate investor, and a midterm rental expert. I do want to invite you to join my website, reagansonnabend.com. There you can get updates on upcoming workshops and other resources for this space for midterm rentals and beyond. And today I've got a guest that I'm really excited about, my friend Andrea Cannon. She's a fellow Owners Club member, and she operates different types of rentals and does a lot of really interesting things in the real estate space. I wanted to invite her to share her story. So just kind of starting at the beginning, tell me a little bit about your journey as a real estate investor.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Reagan. I really appreciate you having me here today. So a little bit about me. I always wanted to get into real estate. In fact, back when I got married in 2015, I brought a couple of real estate books with me on my honeymoon to read while I was there because I always wanted to get into it. But I had just finished pharmacy school and pharmacy residency and was paying off some student loans. And my husband had just finished medical school. And so we were focused on his student loans as well. And so it just didn't really feel like the right time. And so we moved from North Carolina, where we were both originally from, to Utah for his residency, and then away for his fellowship, and then back to Utah again because we really liked it there. And once we made it back to Utah, we finally felt like the time was right to get started with real estate investing. And so I pretty quickly, right away, we were really excited. We purchased a duplex, and we lived in one side of the duplex. It would have been smart for it to be like the official house hacking, which it was officially house hacking, but not according to the loan documents because we bought it a little bit too early before we moved back to Utah. And so because of that timing, we didn't qualify as like an owner occupant. So we ended up having to put a significant amount of money down. So we ended up putting about 30% down on that property. And we moved into this duplex and I absolutely hated it. I was like, I cannot believe I'm living next door to my tenant. I'm finally established, I am a pharmacist. My husband is a physician. Like, we should not be in this tiny, tiny, tiny little duplex. Like, that would have been like, 10 years ago. Now I feel like this seems like a little bit silly. And so, my husband had bought that duplex in his name. And so pretty much very quickly, I went out and bought a single family home in my name. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, well, we put the 30% down on this duplex, and then we put a significant amount of money down. It's like 10, 15% down on this single family home. So now we're kind of out of money. So I was like, well, dang, at least for real estate investing, And so I was like, how is everybody else buying houses? Like, what's everybody else doing? Like, you're just kind of, you can see other people buying houses and you're starting to ask yourself these questions, right? And for me, I was asking the question out loud and my phone heard me. And I started getting targeted ads from Pace Morby on Facebook.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I started getting targeted ads from him in the summer of 23. And so we were in that other house that I told you about, that single family home that I had purchased a mortgage under my name. And we were very happy with that place. It was a place we had thought, okay, in a couple of years we'll move out and we'll, rent this place out to someone, and we'll buy another place at that time, kind of like a single family home house hacking, where you buy it and you live in it, then you move out, then you rent that one, then you buy another one, you live in it, then you move out, you rent that one, right? It's kind of our process, our thought process. But I started getting these targeted ads from Pace on Facebook, and I started looking into creative finance because I was like, man, that sounds kind of like a scam, like buying houses with no money down, like no credit, no nothing. Like, this just sounds kind of weird, right? And I looked him up on Bigger Pockets, and there's kind of mixed reviews of Pace on Bigger Pockets. But I did see he was coming out with a book, and so this is June of 23. So he was coming out with a book, and so I ordered his book, and it got delivered, and I actually got to read it on a family vacation the first week in July. And I was like, man, this is like a really cool concept. And so I came home right from that trip and started making phone calls. I decided, okay, I read the book. I watched a YouTube video about avatars. I decided, hey, I think direct to agent is my avatar. I'm going to start making phone calls. So I started making phone calls just houses on Zillow. My friend had Privy, so I would use her login to look up any of the background information on the houses on Privy and just kind of find out a little bit more and then call the agents. And in those first couple of weeks, I made a ton of phone calls. And then I was like, I'm really nervous if someone says yes. What am I going to do?
Love that.
And so that was the thing that made me join Sub2, because I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I would love to have, a community of people I can ask questions to. And so I joined Sub2 in July of 23, the end of July of 23. And we were under contract on our first property in August.
Wow.
So now I know I've shared this with you offline, but I'd love to share this story about the first property.
I'd love to have you share it with everyone. Absolutely.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, my avatar is direct to agent. And so avatar, just for anyone else who's not aware, it's just there's so many different ways to make money in real estate. And it's best to focus on one of those ways for at least 90 days to kind of get your feet wet and kind of get an understanding of what's going on in real estate in one path. So you just don't get too shiny object syndrome. Now, I still get shiny object syndrome, but it's nice to have a path that you're kind of following. So I picked direct to agent and I started making those phone calls. And I was looking in Utah because that's where the two other properties I had so far is. That's where I live. And I figured it'd be easier for me to just continue to build in Utah. And so I was looking kind of all over the general area where I live, a couple counties around this area. But then I was focused on this one tiny section of the Salt Lake City area called Cottonwood Heights. Because I love the area. And I'm like, well, if I just happen to find a place that happened to work out for me, that'd be really great too, right? But we were in another place. I didn't need one, but I was just like, man, that'd be really cool and really nice. And so I started looking and I found this property that was listed in March of 2023 for around 1.3 million. And they had dropped the price of this property every 6 weeks until they hit in July of 2023, they hit $950,000 on the MLS. So you could tell with those pretty routine drops that they were serious. They wanted to sell. 2023 was a very weird year in Utah and maybe other places as well. But we shot up so much. It was one of the fastest appreciating markets in the country, both Salt Lake County and Utah County. That, when you go up like a rocket, you kind of come down a little bit just naturally, right? And so these were having a pullback, and this couple had previously purchased the home in 2021. And so that was when the market was doing really, really well. And they purchased the property for around 1.1 million. So they dropped this price now from 1.3 million in March all the way down to 950 in July. And I found it on Zillow. I wasn't really pulling lists very well. I was really brand new to everything. And so I found this property, and then I went to call the property a couple of days later because I do work a W-2 job. So I'm not able to be 100% consistent on the outbound phone calls, but I went to go call them and I saw that it wasn't on the market anymore. I was like, oh man, this is a bummer. I don't know really what to do. So I decide, okay, I'm going to go and knock on the door and just see why it's not did they sell it or something? What happened? I doubt it, but what's going on? I think maybe it's an expired listing or something. So I go to knock on the door and it is a gated community. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm wearing a dress. So it's not like I can hop the fence or anything.
Oh, love it. So how did you get in?
So I called, there was another house listed for sale and they had a sign out in the front, outside of the gate. And I called that agent and I started asking some questions and I was able to get in from there. And that house was not a good opportunity as far as creative finance goes, but that's okay. But this one was definitely good. So I came and I didn't realize it at the time. The door knocking didn't really matter because they weren't here. They'd actually moved out of the state. I found that out later. So, and then I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to skip trace them, right? And this is remember, this is like day 2, Andrea, almost. I really didn't know what I was doing. And so I'm like, how to skip trace. And, you know,
Love it. Hey, you were an action taker. That's amazing. It worked out, right?
Yeah. And so then I sent them a text message and gave them a phone call, didn't get any response. And I don't think it was even the right number because, you know, it's kind of difficult to find the right contact info, but I did mail them a letter. And I heard back, it must have gone through forwarding. I heard back from the letter and they said, are you actually interested in buying our house? And I said, yes. And so from there we had, they said, you know, I need you to reach out to my realtor. She's actually going to be she's helping us in the process of renting out the property right now. And just the details of this house, it's a 5,200 square foot house. Obviously, it's in a gated community with just rents and everything and the HOA restrictions. It's not a property that you'll be able to cash flow on. So they were going to lose, I mean, when you factor in any sort of like potential repairs and CapEx and any management, they were going to lose about $2,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
To rent it out. So, you know, they were kind of, I mean, that's not a good scenario to be in, right? When you moved out of the state, you really can't live there anymore. You're $2,000 a month, you know, losing out on. You've already lost a significant amount of money in equity. I mean, technically you only lose that when you sell. So if they rented, maybe they could hold on for a little bit longer and wait for the market to turn around. But they were just kind of in a scenario where I wouldn't say they were desperate. Obviously they were paying the monthly payment and everything was fine, but it just wasn't a good scenario for them. And so we ended up talking to the agent and she had heard tons and tons and tons of creative finance offers, but everybody else, I think, you know, no one was planning to move into the property. And this one was one where I was like, we are absolutely moving into this place. I'm here right now, by the way. And so it was just a really nice property and it's in our exact location. If you're familiar with Utah at all, it's between Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons, which are two ski resorts, 2 sets of ski resorts in each. So 4 ski resorts within less than 20 minutes from my house.
Wow.
I'm also 20 minutes from the airport. And so it's just like, you know, you're still in a really great location. My husband can get to the hospital. I can get to the airport for traveling, but we can also get up to the mountains for skiing and working out and you know, and hiking and everything. And so you know, we talked to this agent. She had so many other offers. It took a lot to kind of work through her barriers, which were everybody else was just kind of had no plans for the house as far as cash flow. She's like, this doesn't even make sense for them. It's a risk. You know, would you be willing to run your credit from an independent person? We said, absolutely. We would be happy to do that.
Wow.
Ended up doing something where we put 2 months of payments in escrow. And so that if we're ever late on any payments, then they have a 2-month buffer while they can work out the foreclosure process. I mean, the coolest thing for us was, you know, when I mentioned they had dropped the price all the way down to $950,000, they actually owed $957,000 on the mortgage. So at that point, they were already coming to the table. And so in the negotiations, we said, hey, we'll do $950,000, which was your asking price, but then you'll kind of have to take care of everything else, right? You'll take care of your realtor. You'll take care of the solar that wasn't fully paid off. You'll pay down the mortgage down to $950,000. And so our total entry costs on this house, this $1 million, 5,000 square foot, beautiful home, all in, I'm talking two payments in escrow that will come back to us in 3 years. And it's already been a year and a couple months now. And transaction coordinator, an inspection, closing costs, everything, $20,700.
Wow. That is outstanding. Nice work. I mean, what a way to start off with a bang.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where, you know, I just told you we had put 30% down on a duplex, right? That first place we lived in. And then we put 10% down on that second place we lived in, which was this cute little bungalow, 2,000 square foot. It had been flipped. It was a really nice place, but 2,000 square foot bungalow versus like 5,000 square foot, beautiful home, completely different vibe. And it's the lowest amount of money we've ever put down on a home. And we ended up with a 3.49% interest rate, which was better than the other two properties also.
Wow.
No balloon.
That's amazing. What a way to start. So bring me along to what you're focusing on today and kind of what you see coming up in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So starting from there, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever, right? It's such an awesome opportunity. And so I continued to focus on direct to agent. The very next property I went under contract on, I wholesaled to my best friend, who is now my business partner from a lending perspective. And she joins up too also. And I continued to wholesale properties, wholesaled another one almost immediately right after that. And it's funny because that property I was actually competing against, I mean, when you're doing wholesaling, you kind of end up competing against other wholesalers. And I was competing against other local wholesalers, but I didn't even know it at this point in time. I didn't know I was competing against them. But once I posted it, I went to a local meetup not that long afterward and met somebody, and they were like, you got that property down in, West Bountiful under contract. And we were, we thought we were going to get that one. And we had a nice chat, me and that wholesaler. And long story short, now we actually work together. And so me, that wholesaler, and his kind of partner as well. So the three of us have formed a wholesaling group, and we focus in Utah on direct to agent, mostly low equity, but some other things as well.
That's amazing. I love the way that you kind of figured out what was going on there and realized it was better to join forces. That's outstanding. So let's talk a little bit about what you see in the future and maybe what you want to focus on going forward.
Yeah. So for me, I'm definitely going to continue the wholesaling arm. And I think the coolest part about wholesaling is there's a lot of opportunity for people who are new in real estate to take action there and see their first deal. Because I think that moment, right, that time when I got this property that I'm living in for, such a low amount down and just saw the process work, it's just like a light switch, right? Like you didn't understand it before and it's real now.
Yep.
Right? Like this is a totally like, wow, the light switch has been turned on, right? And so I think that is a really cool opportunity and a possible area for impact for other people who are interested. So I'm doing direct to agent wholesaling, and we have opportunities if anyone is interested in joining us from a like making phone calls perspective. We can give you the leads, we can give you the training, that sort of thing. So happy to connect on that. And then we're branching out as well. So that group that does that I'm doing wholesaling with, we'd like to start buying properties as partners. And
Nice.
we're focusing on co-living there. So one of the issues with Utah is that the cash flow is a little bit difficult to come by just with how high home prices have gotten and everything. So long-term rental cash flow is a little bit tricky. And really the best way is to find an alternate exit strategy. So I've done a lot of different exit strategies, things like short-term rental and mid-term rental. And I actually have like college students in one property and things like that. And so we are branching out though into co-living because the partners that I am doing wholesaling with, they have a couple of co-living properties already. And that has been very, very successful for them. And so I think it's a good natural fit for us. And in Utah, there's a lot of large homes naturally, just with big families here in Utah. And so there's a really good opportunity to take advantage of some of those really nice floor plans that are already out there and really leverage that into some areas of need to provide some more affordable housing. So we're really looking forward to buying as a partnership more of those properties. I've been buying on my own, but I'm looking forward to buying them with my partners as well. And then the other thing we're pivoting into is more of a lending model. And that is with the best friend I told you that I wholesaled my first deal to after I bought mine, I wholesaled it to her, that property. So we are looking at doing some co-lending, starting a fund of funds, and doing some PML, PMP opportunities on properties as well.
Wow, you've been very busy. That's amazing. And really, I mean, you laid out so many different ways that people can work with you. So how can people find you online if they want to connect?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to connect with you. I'm on Instagram. You can find that at Andrea, ANDREAF Cannon, Cannon. So you can find me there, and I'd love to connect with you. And I can also provide you send me a DM once you follow me, and reach out, and we can figure out how we can maybe schedule a call together or see what your areas of interest are, and we'll go from there.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing kind of where you've been, where you are today, and where you're going, and as well as great ways for people to connect with you. So really excited to see how things progress going forward. And I know I will see you in March, if not before, but just excited to hear some things that were new and some things that I had heard before, but would love, wanted to share with the audience. So, happy holidays, and looking forward to seeing what the future holds. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Reagan. I appreciate it.